I hope so, because if not, maybe you should shut your computer off right now. Welcome, everybody, to Inside the Rut MX podcast. My name is Kenny Watson, and I am your host. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that made this possible.
Team Elite, general contracting, residential or commercial construction, and all of your landscaping needs. They've got it covered. Team Elite has over 30 years of combined experience to get your project done right. Visit EliteTeamOffices.com for more details and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. They will exceed your expectations. Cocopah Casino and Resort, located just outside of Yuma, Arizona. Headed to the river, Lake Havasu, or to Phoenix from San Diego? Well, it's on your way. Make a pit stop. Headed to Glamis? Make a short detour. Stay and play. For more information, visit their website, cocopahresort.com. That's COCOPAH resort.com. Ron's In Your Ear Audio, located in Havasu City, Arizona, taking care of all of your audio and electronic installation. They do gel coats, alarm installations, and shrink wraps. They also take care of any fiberglass needs. If you're in the area, stop in and see their showroom. Visit ronsinyourEaraudio.com and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. They'll take care of you. X Brand. Searching for goggles? Search no further. Go to xbrand.com. That's EKSbrand.com and enter in the promo code ITR48 for 30% off. Works Connection. For all of your two-wheel needs. Works Connection has the products you need. Go to worksconnection.com. Hart & Huntington Tattoo. Located in Las Vegas, Orlando, Niagara Falls, and Nashville. If you're in any of these areas, stop in and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. Guts Racing. Guts Incorporated has been providing high-quality, high-performance seat covers and foam since 1990. Visit gutsracing.com to view their selection and use discount code ITRMX30 for 30% off. For direct links to our sponsors' websites, visit our website, ITRMX.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here in studio. Two special guests I'd like to introduce. The guys today that came in, and thank you guys for coming by. Jeff Ward we got, and Mr. John O'Mara, better known as J.O., Johnny, O-Show, whatever you want to call him. So anyways, welcome, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
You got it.
Thanks for having us.
Right on. Well, the format of the show, I try to mix up every show, and I thought I wanted to do, two icons of the sport, I believe, my era growing up. I've known Johnny for a long, long time, and I've always been a fan of Jeff Ward, going to the races, and a lot of people don't know this, but it just seems like it's coming out now more than ever. That all on any Sunday little deal, that little kid riding the wheelie on the 50 is Jeff Ward, and saying I didn't know that. I was a fan of the movie, and I was like, oh, that kid's cool, and it ends up being Jeff Ward, who is cool. So, but Jeff, what's going on in your life today? Like, just a quick rundown. Like, what do you? Are you working with riders still? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm still working with Cole Seeley. Been with him a couple years. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy going to the races. Going to the track. It's been in my blood, like you said, on any Sunday since I was like 7 years old. So, got a lot of knowledge to bring to him, and he's doing well. He's got a ways to go. So, doing that, and then just raising kids, my 4 kids and wife, and just trying to juggle everything and mountain biking and just trying to have fun. Not getting any younger.
No, we're not. It's crazy. Like we were talking before the show started. It's just like when you're in the battle, or for me, just working in this industry, and it's always seems like it's so important. You're in the midst of the outdoor nationals, and you're starting to focus on, as an industry guy, getting ready for the season for next year. And, they just start clicking off, year after year after year. And you're like, where did 2004 go? That's so long ago to me. But anyways, John O'Mara, longtime friend. I consider you a friend. I hope you consider me a friend. I don't know, but totally two different opposites. But I remember growing up when I met you, you just looked at me like I was just nut. Like every time I looked at you, you looked at me like I was crazy, just because I would do stage dive off of speakers and shit. because Johnny O was there, the motorcycle racer, and I thought, I'm going to impress this guy. I'm going to stage dive and slam dance and knock people down and make him laugh. But John, how's it been?
All good, and yes, I do consider you a longtime friend. It's a long time, definitely. I'm all good, just surviving in the crazy world, like Jeff said, with raising our kids and little projects here and there that we got going on. I do quite a bit of mountain bike racing, so I got my mountain bike team that keeps me pretty busy, and I race myself. So there's always a project and life stuff every day with my family, my beautiful family. Really, they're the ones that are always there for me. So life's good. I can't complain at all. I've been very fortunate to be where I am today, and wouldn't do it any differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like I said, I've known you a lot longer than I've known Jeff personally, and just watching your career, we became pretty good friends towards the end of your career, and just seeing where you've come, where you went, and the transition from off the bike, and being around Ricky at the beginning of the whole training program, and just watching how you have transitioned. It's been quite an amazing adventure for me to watch, and I feel kind of blessed that I could watch that, and just seeing, it's crazy because there's a lot of guys that you have worked with that, from Ivan to James to I don't even know if you really worked for Dungy, but I think that you were around him enough at the farm where he's picked up on your working habits. And it's so weird how some of these guys saying, oh, that program, he just drives you into the ground. These guys are saying this and they're saying that about, but everybody's different. Everybody has different work ethics, I think. And I think a lot of those guys are just looking for excuses, myself. I mean, if you don't want to put the hard work in, then don't. Like, if you get tired, I mean, I love Ivan Tedesco to death. He's like one of my best friends in the world. And, he hung in there and did it. And he came to the point where he was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I want to do it. I want to do the whole training program with John, but it's better for him to go to the track. And, he would tell me stories that you guys would talk about, like in between motos, like, what you would do is like, ride your bicycle. And a lot of people don't understand this. Where Johnny lived, he lived in Simi Valley, and there was a racetrack called Sunrise 395 at Atlanta. It's pretty, I would say it's probably 75 miles, and, he would ride his bicycle there to go to a race and then race, like, a warm-up. And, Ivan was telling me this, and he's like, dude, I could barely load my bike up after doing these motos, and this guy is just like, I go, so what does that tell you? Like, you need to get in better shape. And he's like, well, I don't know, how much better shape I can get in. And, just seeing all of this stuff happen in front of me and just seeing these riders and your work ethic. I was talking to someone the other day about how they bumped into you, on the mountain bike trail, and they're just blown away on your conditioning. And I'm just like, you got to remember, though, it's not like a trend to Johnny O'Mara. This is a lifestyle for him to ride his bicycle. It's nothing. You were riding mountain bikes before they were cool to be riding mountain bikes, before people use that as a cross training. And he found that, I was telling my friend, he found that as a way to exercise, to stay in the sport, and use that as a platform, to exercise and to bring that to the athletes of some dirt bike racers. So saying that, what I'm trying to get at is pretty much talking in circles right now, but I'm just fortunate to see both of you guys still being in the sport. And good or bad, people say that your training works better than, Jeff's or whatever. But what do you guys think of the riders today with the training aspect of it? Do you think they don't give enough, give too much, or do you think they use it as an excuse about the whole training thing, that they're overtrained, the Epstein bar? Because I don't remember back in the day when you guys raced. I think you guys trained way harder than anybody trained in the era of Supercross and motorcycle racing. And I don't remember too many people coming up with, oh, I'm overtrained, I have an Epstein bar, I'm tired. Maybe you guys can educate me, because I don't know.
No, I don't know. Our era, there were guys, Johnny and I, and there was David and Ricky, and, trained hard and did whatever we had to take. And then there was guys that didn't put in as much effort, but the guys that won the championships, are still the guys that put in the most effort, and it's the same today. It's the guys that put in the most work. So there's no hiding it. And there's different theories of training. The basic thing is nothing's changed on the riding side of it. It's still 20 laps, still 30 minutes. But there's just different ways of different riders that get there, on stuff. And some guys just work differently with different exercises, whether it's cycling or running. And you just have to kind of find a program around guys. But everybody's always been different through all careers on, you got Mark Barnett that used to do stuff that you'd hear, and you got Johnny and me. So everybody's always doing their own thing. And the thing is, as long as you keep doing it, you have to have
like 100 days in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You just have to have that game plan and stick to it, because that builds your confidence. Confidence is the whole thing. You start skipping days, you can't. You just in the back of the mind, you've done it, and I know we get tons of stories with Osho myself and whatever. If we missed that, we'd go do it that day, and just get it done, because it's more mentally than anything. When you
when you guys were racing each other, did you know what the other guy was doing for training and would try to outdo him? Did you guys have that? Like, I know you guys are super tight now, but did you guys have a super tight relationship back when you guys were racing, or was it just kind of a head nod and, hey, what's up, how are you, and then go to the line? Or I can remember being I'm behind you guys a little bit in age, but I remember going to John's house in Simi and showing up and play. You probably don't remember, but we played basketball in his backyard, and it was you and Chicken and Stanton and Jeff Ward and Danny Nelson and
that was a little later, I think. At the beginning,
yeah.
I was a Saddleback guy. Johnny was up at Indy,
Yeah.
And he knew of me. We're about the same time starting nationals almost. Maybe I was a year earlier. Yeah. But it was like we didn't hit until like a Golden State. I don't think, like, he may have came down to Saddleback but that era, from that time, through 80s to 84, 85, we were, rivals. I knew how hard Johnny trained, and you could tell by his endurance and how hard he finished at the race. And if you got a little tired that weekend for whatever reason, you went back and worked harder. It was always just trying to outdo to beat the guy, and you knew what you had to put in.
But you knew what he was putting in during.
Well,
the
you
week.
had to, because I knew what I was putting in.
Yeah.
So if he beat me, then he's not sitting on the couch, and you hear things. Everybody does something, it always gets out. And you were talking about cycling. I did the same thing. I'd cycle from my house down to Carlsbad and test, and then get a ride home, or I'd ride to Saddleback 18 miles and test, and then ride home, because I was out the back canyon. So we all did that kind of stuff. And when you do that, we don't have Instagram and instant stuff, but it got out. Somebody'd call somebody and, Osho rode to the track today, and then you'd hear it. And oh shit,
isn't that crazy?
So it's back. Yeah, it was a lot better back then. You could go a couple of days without talking to anybody or knowing what was going on in the world. That's all you had was your riding.
Do you think this is a good lead into this? Do you think that the whole social media has hurt this sport or helped it?
I don't know. What do you think, Osho?
Well, I kind of like what Jeff was leading into, like our little bit of privacy but we knew each other were working extremely hard, because that was just what our foundation was. And now it's kind of, even as I raise my kids today, do I really like it? Maybe no, but am I on it? I'm on it as the Osho, and I kind of keep my brand still aware in the new generation. And so as sponsors and all that, I like it for that stuff. But for raising kids and all that, it's just a really fine line now about like all that stuff. So I guess, I'm definitely old school, and I wouldn't have changed anything. I like when I was born. I liked when I raced. I liked racing this guy and the guys he mentioned, and I wouldn't change anything. I just think it's pretty complicated now for everybody, and as a parent now, I hope I do all the right things for my kid and build that platform and that they can handle it. And they're on Instagram also for Snapchat, all the stuff that we all know about. So I think the Facebook stuff is old school, right?
Yeah,
I don't do that, but
Yeah,
I got an
don't get
Instagram, and that's all I can
yeah,
handle.
there's not enough time for me
I'm
to
not
do
even on
anymore.
Twitter.
But to get back to like what Jeff said earlier about the training stuff, and I really, even if I do work for a rider now, I don't even really like to be labeled as a trainer, because if they want some knowledge in that area, definitely I'll help them. But yeah, like everybody's different. You know, like I wouldn't expect someone to handle my program. How many years have I've been training? 35. Like not a lot of people, even at my age, can't handle what I do. But I wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people. But if they want to gravitate towards that and see the work ethic, it's still pretty there. It's still pretty strong, and it's there. So that's something that I do try to provide. But I'd rather be kind of like a coach or a mentor.
Yeah.
You know, like I really think, like Jeff, I would look at this guy. This guy knows exactly how to be a champion. I think that he would look at me the same way if it was David Bailey, Ricky Johnson, Mark Barnett. I mean, Bob Hanna. We can just go down the line. Those guys are incredible. Jeremy McGrath. All those guys know how to do it. Watch Michael Phelps last night. That's amazing. Like as champions, you know, it's just amazing. But they're all real common in like their work ethic and their desire to be a champion. They, like for me, like I looked up to these guys, and I was a fan also of all the guys that we've just mentioned, but in my eyes I could beat them. Like I knew I was going to beat them in some way. I'd find a way. And if that was outworking them, riding, I didn't even know Wardy rode 100 days in a row. I'm kind of upset at that now. I only did 63, so I didn't know that till today, because I thought no one rode more than me in my day. I mean, me and RC always have this thing, like I go, you think you rode a lot? I outdid you totally on burning tanks of gas, and he won't even, you know, like commit to that. He's like, there's no way you rode more than me. And I'm like, Ricky, I rode more than you. So, you know, there's always those champions that just like kind of like, who raised the bar? Who did more? How did you get to there from here to there? You know, was it more technical skills? Was it the work ethic? Did you do more volume? I mean, everybody's different. So every athlete, you know, you have to look at. Even if I work with a guy now, I have to just kind of like see what they can handle. Are they mentally strong? Are they physically strong? Like you have to totally break it down. So everybody's different in that capacity. But Jeff hit it on the nail. The champions are still going to get it done one way or another. You know, if it's Roxon these days, Tomac, just go down the line. Cooper's coming up, J Mart, all those guys. Those guys are proven winners already. It doesn't really matter. It does matter what they do, but it almost doesn't, because they're going to get to the top one way or another anyways.
Do you think the training aspect of it, you know, kind of like you know him. I think you might have brought him into this sport as Eldon. You know, on the technical side, you know, how the data and all that stuff, the training that, you know, the gym work, the cycling, all that stuff that he is, you know, capturing with data and going back and showing these guys is as important as sitting on that bike and putting seat time in that bike and going out. I know back in the day, you know, riding your dirt bike and running, that's all you needed to do. That's all that a lot of people do. There wasn't really that much gym work going on. Get me wrong. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I just think that back in the day there was burning gas, riding your bike, and getting your cardio with running was the most important thing to do. Now these guys have so much other, you know, cross stuff they're doing, core and legs and this and that, and you know, what's your guys' outlook on that?
I mean, my job was to ride a motorcycle, so that was my first priority. Was I put the effort into putting my motos in, and then whatever came after that was whatever my body would let me do. I had programs. I worked with Jeff Spencer for 10 years, and I had a weight program twice a week for strength training, which didn't wear me out at all, just build strength, which was what I needed. And but just the bike was my most important. That's why I said 100. I mean, I would just ride to be with one on that bike was my biggest priority. But as an athlete, I mean, you have to want to be. It's a lifestyle to be an athlete. I mean, we enjoyed it. Johnny loved running. He'd fly back to run a marathon. We do triathlons. We'd show up and do the same triathlon or biathlons. We'd show up and weekends off. You know, we didn't take weekend. We had like other things that motivated the training aspect of it to get good at, which helped for the motocross part too, which was keeping your mileage up on bicycling or running. and it kept you at a rate where even when you were off, you were only off a little bit, because you had this base of distance on all this stuff. And nowadays, it just seems like there's in my cases sometimes there's just too much dips when the times get a little tough, and that's what I'm trying to teach these guys, to get that solid base to where the dips are small. And but I enjoyed training. I mean, it was just plain and simple. I every day woke up wanting to go do it. It was nothing that I ever felt like, oh God, I got to go do this or that. You mixed it up, but you still got it done, and I enjoyed it.
I would agree, like what Jeff said. Even as much as everybody looks at the O show as being like the training fanatic, sure I was, and I still am today. But it's like Jeff said, when it came to my profession and my craft, I rode a motorcycle first and foremost. So if I never looked at like, hey, got a mountain bike first or run, or, you know what I mean? Like the priority was motorcycles. So I had to do X amount of times per week, X amount of gallons of fuel, motos, and that way I knew that I used every muscle in my body, because in all reality, there's no proven thing saying, oh, you need like Jeff said, a couple days during the week strength training. That's fine. That worked for Jeff. Didn't work for me. If I touched a weight, I'd have arm pump. So everybody's a little bit different. I did thousands of push-ups a week, stuff I just used my own body weight, and then just burn how many tanks of gas a week. I mean, I'm sure it still would be up there with anyone in the last 30 years, with my volume of training like Jeff and Barnett and all those guys that we've mentioned. So, that's probably what I would say, is that the motorcycle was always first and foremost, because I was like, me and David Bailey trained every day. Everyone knew about it. We were still kind of breaking ground on the technical side of Supercross, for sure, in the early 80s, trying new type of techniques. So we brought a lot of new types of way to approach and look at Supercross, just like Bubba did, Jeremy McGrath, everyone. There's always, we helped pave that way for the technical side. So I still look at that being one of the biggest things. That the problem with working with professionals now is that sometimes they're already established and they have some bad habits to break. And that's the toughest thing that I noticed when I do work with a guy. They'll have some bad habits that they probably should have, already faced 10 years ago when they were an amateur. And I think that's a little bit to do with the four-strokes and the new generation of racing now. A lot of them don't use the clutch. The two-stroke stuff that Wardy and I rode with, I mean, to ride a 125 like we did, we're considered the best guys in the world on those 125s and the fastest guys. So, I mean, there's an art to riding those things. You got to use the clutch. There's so much momentum, line choice, apex of turns. We tore that stuff apart, like how we had to ride those bikes. It's amazing. I mean, I had to chase this guy. He had to chase me every week. I was constantly thinking how I could go faster on those things, especially. And then the Supercross thing too was just like we were like mad scientists, talking about me and Bailey, how can we do something different? Whether it was a wheel tap, rear brake, drop. I mean, a lot of people say we innovated a lot of that stuff, and maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but we did. We were always pressing the edge on what we could do, and obviously we're on the Honda team, and we had the best. In theory, people still look like in the early '80s. We had the powerhouse team, the Works bikes, and I'm glad that most of my career was on Works bikes. Then the tail end of my career, last 4 years, was just production bikes. It was an honor to be able to race in that era on the factory-built bikes.
Speaking of David, how gnarly was that for you when he got injured? As not just as your training partner or a colleague. I know you guys were tight as brothers, and for you in your career. Did you shut it down for a while, and how did you use that in your career to not benefit you, but to, what's the word I'm looking for, to kind of make you drive, to keep you moving forward and keep your head down? And did it ever cross your mind hey, I don't want to do this no more. If this happened to David, this could happen to me?
Yeah, it's way harder than anybody would even could imagine what I had to go through with David Bailey. When he got hurt, I got hurt too. That's how. Every day, even today, I've spent a little bit of time with David in the last few weeks, and it's always so special to me. And sure, we'll talk about the history of our relationship and racing and stuff like that as we go to Motocross the Nations in September in Majora. So there's a lot of memories. There's good, there's bad, and like I said, how you led into that. When David got hurt, part of me got hurt too. It was very difficult for me to and I switched teams that year. I was leaving the Honda team. David just got married. David got injured. I was there when it happened. I think Jeff was too. It was just, he was the smoothest guy in the world, most technical guy. Anyone would back me on that. Like, how could this happen to my best friend, my teammate? And, so when I'm trying to get across to everyone, I was never the same. I was a little bit more cautious, and I approached everything. I had a little bit of a knee problem, obviously. That's everyone pretty much knows right when I ruined my knee pretty good. Never could get that totally back to normal, the strength that I wanted to. And then I was just, I wasn't a risk taker at all. I was very calculated, and I probably was even a little bit more calculated. And I took a little bit of edge off that, that to win, at all, however you had to ride over the edge. Like, I wasn't very comfortable riding over the edge anymore, especially as I saw David get injured.
When he was injured, did you have a chance to see him or talk to him when he was injured at the track, or say anything to him, or did you continue to ride that day, or what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I did continue to race that day. I didn't see David. My mechanic, Jim Felt, was the first guy to him. So obviously I got, intel to the T, what really happened. I know the jump. I still to this day don't like that jump, even thinking about it. I have nightmares about that jump. Like, why did he try to do that? It was just not a David Bailey, Johnny O'Mara type jump that we could do. Like, we know what we can do and what we can't do on a motorcycle, and that one was just, I still shake my head right now and still go, why? Why did he try to do that thing? It was his practice. It was choppy off camber, not kind of a small double jump, but kind of downhill. But he thought he could pull it. He was in the mindset to do it. So he was prepping to have his big battles with RJ, and he wanted to do things that maybe was a little bit out of his comfort zone, and that one bit David really bad. But no, I didn't know exactly, like you said, what happened, but I did know that it was serious. I did race. Don't even remember how I did. Probably don't even care. But during the week, I think I was up there in wherever it was, San Jose, in the hospital. So I was very part of that whole process when he got hurt. He had his place in Simi.
The one behind the drive-in right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think he had I can't remember the dog and everything. I mean, everyone was gone. Him and Gina were just up at the hospital. So there was stuff that I had to take care of on behalf of the Baileys. And then that also racing was coming up too, I think a couple weeks before Anaheim. So a lot going on as a professional athlete. You still had to do your job, but, seeing that was devastating, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff, did for you as a competitor and David, being the best at the time, how did that affect you as a racer? Like, you were there, you knew what was going on, and how do you think it affected the whole industry? Because I think it was a big shock for the industry, just not Johnny. I mean, Johnny was tighter, and it was more on a personal, but on an industry level, I think it shocked the world. It was like, you could say that in every sport, there's one particular thing that changes, that whole sport. And it's one of those things, it's just like when, I think before that, the biggest thing was when Donnie got hurt,
Right.
And that's, that hit home to you too,
Yes.
With Donnie getting hurt and then David getting hurt. And then, for all you other guys racing every week, What was it like? Is the risk or reward just getting out of control here to keep doing this?
I think the sport really started elevating. I mean, in the late 70s, the tracks, in the early 80s, mid 80s, everything started getting bigger, steeper, so all that. And up to that point, there really wasn't any devastation of, I mean, there's guys got hurt, but, maybe in the lower levels you didn't hear about so much. But, David, like Johnny was saying, he was an innovator. Those guys have doing, I mean, every practice, he was the guy I watched, because he would do something that you went, wow, how did he think of that? So you were always, and yeah, he'd be the last guy you'd think that would get, and I don't think we ever, we never really ever thought of that as that much, but then, it was a big setback, and, Johnny pretty much lived with them, but I was, close friends with the Motocross Nations, great guy to get along with. Like you said, biathlons, we do stuff, and it definitely sat you back in your seat and went just like, wow, this is, but like Johnny said, I raced that day too, and you kind of knew it was bad news, and then like Anaheim was starting, and then RJ went down in that heat race and got knocked out, and it was like another, oh my God, it was just the whole thing was like, where's this sport going all of a sudden? Now these jumps are big, everybody's getting hurt, and it was the whole industry. Yeah, I mean, David's an icon in the sport, and to have that happen, we were all affected. It turned my gut for it still does. I mean, like I said, when you see David now, you love David, and it brings it back almost. It's just like, I can't believe it's been that long and that happened. You still can't believe it happened.
Yeah.
And it's the sport is just and now it's a level where it's these guys, man, you watch them go through stuff, and it's a fine line.
Yeah. Do you guys think, I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this, and I watched this thing on Kevin Windham on YouTube a couple nights ago, and, how he knew it was time. He in his mind, he said it, I wanted to ride for 20 years. I wanted to retire on the fort, the fort in 2014. That was my number. And leading up to the season, he was just not feeling comfortable on doing, certain jumps. And there was this, this quad that everybody was doing the first couple of weeks. There was quad jumps now, and he wasn't out there to get 10th. You know what I mean? He said he was thinking about injuries, and he was thinking about, getting hurt. And he brought something up about David Bailey, and, how him and David kind of had that same kind of technique. Right? People said that they're both really smooth riders. Mm-hmm. And, he said, if it could happen to him, it could happen to me. And, I have 4 children, I've made I've done very good for myself. There has to be a time when I hang it up. And, and he just went through the whole process. But what I'm trying to get at is the sport, the way it is, with the tracks, a lot of people don't realize, like when you guys raced, there wasn't a Feld. There was different promoters for different tracks. So you never knew what you were going to get at a track. You didn't know the size of the distance. You didn't know the faces of the jumps. You didn't know what these guys know now. The jumps, the triples are going to be a certain size. The sizes of everything. So you could go out and build these practice tracks where you guys didn't know what you were coming to, and there'd be fucking nails sticking up and rocks in the dirt and, bricks sticking out. And that's something else that you guys had to overcome that the riders nowadays don't have to deal with that. And do you think that's, something that, if back in the day, if you guys had a situation where you knew how the tracks were going to be, that the sport could have progressed faster? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There was an era where they were pretty legit most of the time. I mean, they were still 70 feet triple. I mean, I don't know what they are today. It's probably still the same. I mean, it's not much different. You can only get a run. I mean, the bike's got more power now, but the landings are better today. Back when they built some of our landings, they were steeper than the takeoff. It was like there's no room for error. That's why my ankles are blown out. Everybody's ankles are shot. But the obstacles they're running out, I mean, they're so big. I mean, so far apart, the hoops and the speed that you have to carry to go through there. Ours were more ruts, and you had to time stuff, and the tracks got beat up more, so you couldn't have as stiff a suspension. So we had like brake bumps going in first turns, for the start. It wasn't like perfectly smooth. So, I don't know. It's just different errors. It's so hard to compare. But
did they go out and fix the track? Like
Not usually.
back in the day?
I mean, usually
Or they
we
just
could have
leave
4
it?
corners with plywood all the way from one to the other.
Wow.
It could be like 15 seconds of plywood if you got in the group. You know, yeah. I mean, I'm sure the tracks weren't maintained as well. I mean, we had ruts going up stuff to where you had to stop doing triples or you were gonna die. It was just no way. They didn't go out and groom it. The main event just got worse. So I don't know if that was because they didn't have as many tractors or they didn't know they could do that, you know, and make it easier for us. I have no idea why, but I wouldn't say it was any harder. I mean, because of the stuff they have to get on and off now, the commitment it takes to do that. Yeah. There's a fine line. And then we had the same thing, you know, it's just we rode those bikes to their limit and as far as they could jump and as fast as they would go. So, you know, it just keeps progression just keeps doing the same, but
Right on. Well, hey, let's shift gears here a little bit. I want to talk to you guys about you guys rivals as in racing. Do you each one of you guys have a memory that will always embed in your head about that one race that you guys just said, you know what, if it was for a championship on the line, or it was just, you know, it could have been a local Saddleback Saturday, or it could have been anything, you know, a Golden State race where you and this guy were just going, dude, we are going for it. And it was at the end of that, you know, where you guys just said, man, that was bitching.
It was 84 at Saddleback Park. First moto.
Was it a national?
National, yeah, second. Was it the first national or second?
God, Jeff, I
think it was the second national. I think Hangtown was the first. Yeah. I think I won Hangtown. No, Gainesville.
Gatorback,
I think I won Gainesville. I don't know if I went 2-1.
Is that the way it always was back in the day? It was Gainesville?
We had Supercross, and then we went to like Daytona, then Gainesville, or Gainesville, right. Daytona, then Miami, then Hangtown. So we ran both classes through the whole year. The Supercross didn't end until like November. I mean, end of the season. Wow. So we had 250s in between. So it was kind of.
So did the mechanics have like different bikes, or were they just rebuilding bikes? Or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot of work. So
holy shit!
But yeah,
I only thought there was the one. I only thought there was the one race was Gainesville in the middle, like at the beginning, and then it was the Supercross ended. Then I never knew that.
No, we had like one. I mean, when I raced even Supercross, the last race in November, it was in November at Anaheim, a couple of years in the late 70s. You know, and the Nationals went in between, and Coliseum was always in June or something in the middle of summer. It was
how many races back in the day?
Same.
Was your schedule?
We had 20 Supercrosses, and
was it 20? I thought it was still it was 16 or 17.
No,
but it was
I think we had 18 to 20 a few times.
Yeah,
18, and then we had the 12 nationals because a lot of times we had.
And they break it up.
Then we broke it up 6 and 6, like 250s and then 500s.
Okay.
So almost the same. Not
same,
much.
but we switched bikes.
1 or 2 races, but we had to do the Supercross.
All right, getting back to
anyway, yeah, Saddleback. Because Johnny and I had 83, he won the championship, and we had good battles, but you had Lachine in there, man, you had Barnett in there. Hannah riding 125s then?
They did bring Hannah back on the Yamaha, right?
Something. I mean,
pretty stacked class.
It was, but we never really. I mean, I won one race that year, I think, Johnny. But we came down the championship. He broke his toe at Colorado before the last race at Millville, and I made some points up, and
it's close.
We went to the last national, probably 9 points or 10 points apart.
Single digits.
And I had a bad first. I cartwheeled in the sand section first lap, but then the next year, I stepped up my program and we came running, and Saddleback was first moto. I caught up to him, and second to last lap to go or something. I can't remember. It was this downhill turn up before and I just came in. He was outside, and I came in and just hit a brake bump and just took him off the track.
Did you go too?
Huh?
Did you go down too?
No, I didn't go down. So I went and won the race, and I don't know where I went through the pits, but you already made it to my pit because Goat was there, and O'Shea was looking for me, and I got back late. I don't know why, but then he left, and then from there he came out and smoked me the second moto. He was so pissed, but that kind of started that whole year. Was like, okay, it's game on now. It was.
But you guys were cool before that, right?
Yeah, I don't think we had any issues. I mean, we wanted to beat one another for sure. We were the guys in the class, because Barnett had that thing dominated for so long. I raced it, with Brock and those guys, and I was just a kid. I couldn't. Barnett was a man. He was like a beast. I mean, the guy. We'd come up to the starting line with wet towels on our head and drinking water, and then you glance over at him. He's got his Jofa on, helmet on, kicking the dirt. And you're defeated. You're right then. You're just like.
I remember when I was talking to Johnny about when back in the day when I'd just go by his house and ride my bicycle up there. before he could even, had a driver's license. I would go up there and Osho would be like unpacking his, bike, and I'd ask him some stories, and I'd ask him about Barnett, and I'll never forget the one time he told me, he goes, Kenny, only thing I could have one word to describe that guy, he's a camel. And I didn't understand what that meant, and I just played it off like it was cool. And then I realized, like, camels don't drink water.
No,
like,
that guy could go.
They could just.
I don't know what it was with that guy. He was just a beast. He was so strong and just a powerhouse. Just he got what it was before any of one of us figured it out. Hannah was kind of there, I think, but then Bomber came into a whole new level of just hibernation training. He was like Rocky when he went to Russia. That's basically what it was.
Do you think Bomber's on the internet? Do you think Bomber has FaceTime?
I don't even know if Bomber has a phone.
No, I
think he has the flip?
Bomber's, yeah, he has a flip, exactly.
He's still in Alabama
one,
somewhere.
But no, he wouldn't even have a Chrome one. But what he said about Barnett, and I know I'm jumping. We got to get back to our battles because, God, there's a bunch like what Wardy just said. But Barnett was a man, literally. And, back then, too, like, wasn't Jeff, where our stuff was 40 minutes
40
plus
plus
two.
two,
So, like,
yeah.
a lot of people don't realize half our career was still at the 40 plus 2 mark. So 45-minute motos instead of, like, 30 plus 2. So the tail end of our career, maybe the 5 or 6 years after, was back to the 35-minute motos. So we were, to beat Barnett, I mean, I know the camel deal, Jim Felt, my mechanic, always called him, like, the rattlesnake because, dude, you couldn't kill him. You literally couldn't kill the guy. So obviously that was our motivation to work harder than him. So, yeah, about those battles, Jeff and I weren't so close off the track because he lived all the way in Orange County, and I was obviously in up in the northern Cal, a little bit 100 miles away. But definitely we had a lot of respect for each other. We still do. Love this guy next to me right now. It's just because he made me a better person, better racer, helped me, instill that work ethic in me today, what I have today from back 30 years ago. So, sure, we challenged each other week in and week out for a lot of years, and we both had the common goal to be the best. And so I could thank him today for that because he helped me achieve my goals, and I'm pretty sure he'd say the same thing about me. So we pressed the envelope big time back in the days. But we had so many battles on those 125s. We rung those things like I said earlier. You couldn't go any faster, literally. I mean, in my opinion, it was amazing. Just those from the get-go. Whether one of us crashed off the start or we got a bet, we'd always be 1 and 2 because it just we could come through the pack. But if you messed up a little bit and let Jeff get away, or if you got the breathing and the clean air, they might talk like these days. Yeah, it was hard to catch them, or vice versa. We kind of needed to latch onto each other. I'd watch his lines. Some of his lines didn't work for me. We're a different type of rider. Also, some of our styles. So some of his lines wouldn't work for me or vice versa, So, but yeah, I mean, I got a scar on my up below my nose right now from a roost that a rock hit me going up the hill at Washougal, where I needed 7 stitches after. I was just drinking blood during the moto. I mean, it was literally blood. Like we just said that we raced each other to the brink of like what I just said. I mean, crazy stuff. I hit a braking bump at Mount Morris when I thought I had the win. I just hit this dumb braking bump. Hand comes off. He takes the win. I mean, there was like you shake your head on all the little stuff that happened like that. I literally wanted to win so bad I would do anything to him. I didn't want to like kill him or anything, hurt him, but I would about do anything. Like whatever it took. If we had contact all the time on the bike, no big deal. Like it wasn't like these days where they'll take you aside. It's just we raced each other hard, very hard.
That's awesome. I really think that a lot of the people listening to this are going to enjoy to hear that, because there's always this big conspiracy, I think, about the racers, their relationships. Back in the day, how there was no respect for one another, and it was just, wind blower hit the snow fence, just go for it. Take the guy out and then move on, we had Bob on the show, and Bob made it clear that he thought the riders in the '90s had a love affair, that they loved each other too much, where they didn't want to hurt each other's feelings, and they wouldn't they wouldn't want to knock somebody down and pass him for the win because they thought they would hurt his feelings or something. And coming from you two guys hearing these stories, that's awesome, because at the end of the day it was about one thing, and winning. And
and we didn't take any cheat. I mean, like Johnny said, we hit each other a number of times, but we respect each other so much, and what we did, nothing was ever cheap. It was to win a race. He knew I was doing it to win a race. Johnny could come in. Nothing was a T-bone. It was just hard racing. If the berms met, he's not shutting off. I'm not shutting off. If we hit, we hit. But we never really, except for that one time at Saddleback, which was probably the worst one that we had in our whole career. But other than that, it was.
Are you still pissed at him for that, John? Are you still mad?
I remember it, so it stung me. I have a little wound from it, but I did win the second moto, and that's kind of the motivation that him and I used. But he did he hit a braking bump. So hey, that stuff happens, but it's just enough that kind of fueled my fire, and I won the second moto. And there was probably other races where I did something to Jeff, and I may have won the first moto. I know a lot of times I won the first moto. He won the second moto. He got the overall, but maybe that's why we're always so close in the point standings, because we had a chance. I had a chance to beat him even when he took my my plate, but. We were always 1 and 2, and he'd sneak out that second moto, and it would make me upset, obviously, because I'm like, oh, he got way more overalls, but we were still just digging deep, bottom line.
So back in the day, like you were saying, they would split it up to the 250s was 6 races, and then the 500 was. Mm-hmm. So, J.O., is that why you rode the 125 so long? Because you didn't. Did you have a career on the 500 at all? Like, how many years did you race that? Did you ever ride the 500 Nationals?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Well, when I left Honda, Suzuki didn't have a 500 that first year, so that's why I did ride some. I don't know if I rode the whole.
Is that 86?
87.
87.
Yeah, so I rode some 125 races for them with Holland and Kehoe for Suzuki. But I did race the series 500 on the Honda a couple times. Even my last year with Jeff at 90 for the Cowie. And I rode him pretty good, not like this guy. Obviously, I didn't get a championship in there, but I won motos, and I think I was top 3 in the series a couple times.
How did that end up at Cowie, where Johnny ended up there? Did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I met with Roy, and we were talking on riders, and at the time, and Johnny was available, and I said, this guy, rides hard. He tests hard. It's something this team can needs. Because I was for years, I'm not saying they're ragging on Ronnie or Chicken, but they definitely weren't the testers that the team needed. I did all the testing, and Ronnie would half the time go, I'll run what Wardy's running. So I was doing a lot of load. And at the end of that career, it was, Johnny was still winning races.
That's kind of weird. And like a guy who's totally body's different than you, and he would run your setup and go out and do what he did.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie's a freak of nature. There's no doubt
Absolutely.
About that. It's like you could sit here with I don't know, scientists and try to figure out how he got what he got what he did.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, that's just. But that's just Ronnie. He did buckle down a few times and try to put it together, and he did worse. He couldn't take pressure because now he was expected to win because he has been riding or training, and he would do his best going in, just rolling the dice. Yeah. And everybody that would freak out everybody more than if he was in shape, and it worked for him, but it didn't win him as many races as he should have won.
Yeah, for sure.
But he won races that he shouldn't have won, which was more incredible. When Ricky and I remember one time at Kenworthy, we were under the victory thing in the shade. He'd won both motos on the 500. We're in the shade, dousing water, and I told Ricky, and he's doing his parade lap, and I told Ricky, I said, hey, look, when he comes in, he won't even be sweating. His hair will be dry. He comes in, pulls his helmet off, his long hair, his mullet, it's all dry, no sweat. Like he didn't even race a race. And then we were just like, couldn't believe it. And then, then the next week he'd just tank. for no, who knows what he.
Yeah, that's a whole.
It's a whole other deal.
It's a whole other show right there.
Yes.
But Ronnie, he was a fun teammate though.
So getting back to the Cowie days for you, Jo, did you went in with a 1-year contract, saying that this was pretty much going to be it, or did you plan on racing longer, or were you like, you know what, I'm still gonna put in the work and I want to continue to race, or was after that 90 season did you just say, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I pretty much had a game plan, like how we talked earlier about Kevin Windham saying that. I pretty much the same. I knew that it was probably a 1-year deal, or I did know that. It was an honor to race side by side with Jeff, one of my biggest rivals, and for him to, back me on the decision to come aboard. And, I knew what my role was. I was still a podium guy. There was still a good chance I could win races if everything went right. So I actually loved my role with Cowie that last year, and I was going to do a couple races in '91. I think that, hey, can you hang out and do it? But I broke my collarbone at Goat Brecker's Invitational race, and that put an instant stop to my. So I think I was planned on racing a few races in '91, just kind of pick and choose, but my season was done, or my career was done in the end of '90. I did 10 years, and I was happy with that. I left as, my whole plan. I had Al Baker, a lot of people know, was my manager, and he passed away midway in my career. But we had always had the plan to, sure, obviously any athlete would want to win with the championship or being number one. That obviously didn't happen, but I was still probably, for sure, I was top 10 in the world, maybe even a little higher if you looked at my overall ranking and how good I was. But I could walk away proud that I was, I didn't milk the sport I love so much and try to make a little bit more money. I already had plans to go full-blown mountain bike racing, basically as a factory rider. So I had another career that I was already so excited about also. And I knew I already gave the sport that basically I had done since I was 5 years old, everything I had to offer. So I wasn't about to race for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I mean, that doesn't do nothing for me. Jeff was the same way. I mean, like, if we weren't capable of being on the podium and being the run for a championship, it didn't do anything for me. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can remember that pretty vividly when it was over. But when did you retire? 3?
92.
92. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember I was at that race at Steel City when the 500, right? Did you run that?
I won
Mount Morris?
I won Steel City, but then it was Budds Creek was the last national.
Okay, so it was the week before that.
I won, yeah.
Yeah.
So the 500, yeah.
Yeah.
I still had a shot for the championship. I mean, I called my retirement that whole year because I kind of had that farewell tour.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to retire. Just my shoulder was jacked up. I was just tired of getting hurt. You just kind of, I still put the effort in because I was still competitive, but I just wanted to move on. And, I just knew it was going to be another tough, you have so many years in a row. I mean, Osho knows it's like you pick yourself up, you give 100%, you get going, then something happens. When you're early in your career, it's not so bad. You just keep going. And then when you get to the end, you kind of, you just know you've done it so many times. You're like, can I do this again?
Yeah.
And we had to go through so many different riders coming in that just changed the sport. The Brad Shaw, you got these guys that are just picking the pace up and making you do things that you didn't want to do, and then now you're having to do it. And the older you get, like you start thinking a little bit. And
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, you've seen quite a few different eras of riding styles and riders with speed and talent come and go since for your career. So at the end of it, when you walked away, that was pretty much the McGrath Emick time of the right.
I started with Weinert and Marty Smith and stack of all these guys that you list these names. It's like, man, and then I ended racing Jeremy at the Invitational and winning. That was right when he was going from 92 to the Supercross where he won the championship. So I beat him at that Invitational at my last year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I got to race a whole, like I said, they just kept coming in. You had Stanton coming in '88, and I've been there almost 10 years racing pro. and he was another bulldog, and just these guys that
After Johnny left, like, I mean, who was your like tight group? Like, I know Osho. Were you pretty much a loner? Like towards the end of your career,
I was kind of a loner my whole career.
Really?
I never needed anybody to motivate me. I never had to find 2 or 3 guys to go ride with. There's many times I'd be out here at Elsinore, in the middle of the hills by myself. Nobody there, just riding motos. It wasn't probably the smartest thing to do, because if you crash, I mean, I've had bikes break where you'd have to leave them and get your truck to go get them. But I just had my team that we'd test. You kept close with them, and towards the end of the career, I'd go up and ride with Johnny, or he'd find just because you wanted to mix things up. And Chicken, when he came on, Matasevich, he was pretty close. I'd have to drag him out of bed to go ride, and but no, I didn't have besides Jeff Spencer, that I'd talk to every day on on what I was doing and how I'm feeling, and just that guy to for feedback, and but other than that, it was kind of on my own.
Right on. Well, hey, I'd like to end this just talking about where you guys are at today with the athletes that you have you're working with, and the ones you haven't. Your last guy that you work with, John. You don't have to go into detail if you don't want to about anything, but like for instance with Cole. Cole's from our area. Moore Park, Simi. Knew his dad from the Simi Cycles, was the parts guy, whatever, super good guy. And that guy walked away from the sport and went and did something else and came back on fire. And like, I really see a natural talent in that guy. Like, I see, like, if you're going to have a Honda rider and say, line them all up, just his image and the way he presents himself, that's the guy you're going to point at, Cole Seeley.
No, Cole's I've known Cole since he was 80. I worked with him on 80s. We used to go races. He used to come races with us.
Were you his team manager at Troy Lee? Or were you ever the team manager there?
No.
You were just
Ping was. I just helped him out. But when he went to Troy Lee, I was one of the guys that said, "Hey, Cole can ride." And even with Christian Craig, I remember telling them, "This kid's the real deal if he can not get injured." And unfortunately got injured. But we can see talent. It's that work ethic. That he still needs to step it up. Supercross, he's got the talent, the speed, the BMX style. But we're just working on pushing him. The problem is he got injured again. And last year he got it. We keep getting those steps and then step back. And last year was a bad time because we couldn't start riding until almost the middle of November. So like, he could have won Anaheim if he wasn't hurt before that. He'd have more base. And then he gets going, then he gets hurt.
Dude, he was on fire. His outdoor, I was so impressed.
He really stepped it up, and he finally
really
committed to putting in the work and going. And it was unfortunate he got hurt, because I think he was just getting to a milestone now that it's like, hey, I can run with these guys. Yeah, I got a little tired, but I now the next week's going to be better and better and better. And then he snapped his pinky out at Paula and had to have it plated and pinned. And
so his deal is you're his on the bike coach, and Lopes.
No, he's not using Lopes anymore. He's going up to a place called Exos is up in LA area at the Hub Center where the Galaxy trains. It's a training facility up there.
Okay. Home Depot Center.
He's going up there and doing his workouts up there, and they got a whole program. They have it's pretty cool what they have there. I mean, they feed him, they do everything for him. So it's something he needs, because it's something that he has to be there. He's got a time. He's putting money into it. I'd go mountain bike with him all the time. I push him there. I'm at the track every day with him, talking with him every day. So
is he back on the bike yet?
Not yet. No.
Wow.
Next week.
Wow.
It's had a little complication, but not too bad. So it's unfortunate, but he's a good kid. Really, like you said, if anybody's riding that 14 bike and that style from Wyndham's days,
for sure.
It's definitely Cole, but
I think that it was a pretty cool story that I heard. I don't know if it's true that he called Kevin, and asked him if he and Kevin said I'd be honored. No,
he's a good kid. He's just maybe he's too good. At some point, that's what the whole thing. But he's an aggressive rider. But he doesn't have to be aggressive to get by because he's so fast.
Yeah.
Why put yourself in a position that you're going to piss off somebody to get you. He makes clean passes so he can get away. But there's a few riders out there. It doesn't matter if you do that; they're still going to come straight in on you. And, you know, everybody knows who they are, and we work on all that and game plan and racing. But you know, I'm having a good time with them, and keeps me busy. And
I really like. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Cole Seeley. I think he's a good kid. But all right, Jo. So what's going on? What's going on with you? You got any guys you're looking into? Guys that anything? Are you done? You're like, you know what? I've had enough of these babies. I'm done doing it. The thing about a lot of people don't know, Johnny's either all in or out. He ain't going to half-ass nothing. I don't give a shit what it is. I've known Johnny long enough to know he's either going to give you 150% or 0%. So I feel, I don't know nothing about any of the guys except for the people that I know that you've worked with. And when people try to tell me stories about what Johnny O does and this and that, I look at these people and say, first of all, do you know Johnny O'Mara? Or are you speculating, or are you reading something on the internet that's full of shit? Because if you know J.O., you're going to know he's either in or he's out. And if you're not going to give him what he expects, he's out, because he's not going to waste his time. So, saying that, I don't know the situations, what's been going on with you, with riding I don't even want to say riding coaches, because I know you hate that. I know that you hate trainer, riding coach. I'd rather say, someone that goes to the track. I mean, Ivan used to say that. Johnny gets so mad at me when I would call him my trainer, and he's not my trainer. He's a riding coach. And Ivan didn't even want to say that, But where are you at today with all this crap with these riders? Because let's take a list of 4 guys you've worked with in the last 5 years. Barsha, Hot Sauce, Martin. Who am I missing?
And James was in there. Covington, too, also.
Thomas.
Thomas, I helped him a little bit before he went to Europe.
And speaking of Thomas, he had a good ride this weekend, right?
Thomas was, I think something like 6th or 7th. And, Thomas has got a lot of natural talent.
Just scared the Supercross, ain't they?
Yeah, he just never was really cut out, or he just didn't feel confident in that. Maybe he can come back like Osborne kind of raced like that over in Europe. Maybe he comes back. So I love Thomas and his parents. Good people. Need more people like that in the sport, to be honest. So, to kind of thank you very much for what you said about me there. It's quite a compliment. The way I look at myself right now, I'm just kind of, the last few months, I've been sitting back a little bit, just spending quality time with my family. It was summer, so it was cool to hang out on the weekends a little bit and do some stuff with them. I love the sport tremendously. I'm sure people can feel my passion for it. I still think I have a lot to offer if somebody in the sport, so if anyone's listening, and I am available right now. So if the project seemed like it was going to be a good mesh, because I'm pretty picky, obviously, and I probably get pickier as I get older, but I would definitely, I'm not walking away from the sport. Like I just said, I have way too much respect for the sport, and I love it. It made me who I am today. And but I would definitely entertain something in the future. But like I said, I don't know what that is. I haven't reached out at all. This would probably be the first public little knowledge to anyone that maybe Johnny's available or whatever. So I raced my mountain bike over the summer. I got 3rd at nationals. I didn't win the championship like I was shooting for. I'm still super competitive, as you can tell. So I got that going on. Do I need to work? I'd like to. Like, I could maybe retire with some of my stuff that I worked hard for my whole career. But I don't feel really all that good when I don't work. I'm just someone that's really likes to work. I don't even like the word retirement, or, hey, do I want to do that? I kind of want to work. I've been kind of feeling like a bum, actually, the last few months.
Do you consider what you guys do, training guys, do it at your, where you're at now in your careers? Do you guys really consider that work? Like going to the track? Because that's all you've ever done. Like, it's part of your life.
That's for sure. Traveling and being at the track is the norm.
It's like, for you, J.O., I think, like, there's no way this would happen. You sitting behind a desk like that for 8 hours a day. and having to be somewhere at 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock and go home. That's never going to happen. Okay, I know that, you know that. Everyone that knows you, but it's like me sitting back saying that you want to retire, or I don't consider I know it's a job. I know you get paid to do it, but it's your passion. You guys love doing it, and I personally think, like, if there was the right situation, and people, you know, that don't understand, if someone came and offered Johnny a lot of money, and it wasn't a good fit, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it.
I would turn it down in a second. It's got to be right for me, especially, you know, and like I said, I'm a little bit more picky now. I'm even more picky on that. But probably what I like kind of disappoints me, and I don't like to like talk about it so much, but like you see, even like last night, even like opened up my eyes a little bit when Michael Phelps talked, where they said his coach for 11 years or whatever it may be. I'm not really too, you know, like I'm never really that comfortable in like how a lot of these athletes are these days, where they don't want to like stay on that road with that same person. Like Wardy had Spencer, you know, for all his whole, like these guys don't really realize, you know, if you're just there for a year or two, like you barely get to know these guys. Like you don't know their bodies, their cycles, how much they, you know, like they always say, like you want to be there like through the good stuff, but also the bad stuff, because you guys grow together. So when I say this, I'm not like pinpointing anybody I've ever worked with, but what I'm saying is like, because I'm kind of here to help people for the future, and if it is some young parents and athletes coming up into the business, they need to pick somebody, who that may be, whether if it's a trainer, rider coach, mentor, whatever, and they need to stick with them. Like I really think that's you look at the best guys in the business, doesn't need to be motocross, in professional sports, they've had someone for a long time that really know how to, that you can look at and see that confidence in them. And so I'm just trying to get that across, because if I can help a couple people, one person in the next 10 years, 20 years, I feel like I did my job. So that's kind of what I wanted to get across. And if someone listens to that today and go, wow, that is the right way to look at it. It was the way I had Al Baker my whole career, Spencer, had for Jeff Ward. I mean, I can go on and on. Just the Michael Phelps thing last night, because it was so broadly, everyone watched it, and he had his coach there for 11 years. I mean, they were there since they're like kids, you know. So where I really think guys like Jeff and myself can help people, it's like, you know, you got to, like, we've been there, done it. Like, we're not dummies. We know what it takes. Just kind of believe in us, and probably, you know, whether if I don't know how many more years I can do this, but I still think I have a little bit to offer in my sport. Or even, like, I get people all the time, hey, will you train me for mountain biking? Because, like, some of the older generation guys like, Johnny, how do you still go so fast? Well, I can help people in that area. Whether if I'm going to do that, I have no idea. Like I said, I'm just kind of buying my time and see maybe something comes my way. But to switch gears again, yeah, maybe I'm not a guy that sits at a desk all day, but it doesn't mean necessarily that I am, because I've always been able to adjust to situations. So, you know, as I get older, maybe I would want to do something like that. You know, I'm not sure. So, you know, can I be a team manager? Some reason I think that I could possibly be a good team manager too. I don't know why that pops up to me. I had a chance years ago to do that, but I just didn't think I was there yet. Like what you said, could I do that? I didn't want to give up my free time. Like I didn't want to just sit there and do that yet. I didn't think I was ready. I think I could possibly do that now. Whether if that happens, who knows? I'm just telling you how I feel.
You should wait for your kids to grow up, because all you're going to be doing is babysit grown men.
There you go. See, like you're telling me something that I don't maybe know, but that was another thing that
from truck drivers to mechanics to riders entourages,
secretaries.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just maybe I'm not cut out for that, but that's just something I thought about. Like it maybe would be, you know, a challenge for me or something like that. But so thanks for, you know, asking that question, and hopefully you can understand some of the.
No, I get it. Do you really think, you know, Jeff, you can chime in on this too. Do you really think, like, you guys get a new rider and you guys sit down when you're making your goals, you know, that's probably the first thing you do is going, hey, let's set some goals and some, you know, milestones that we need to reach here in the next, you know, year. make them realistic, and let's go achieve these things. Do you really think like some of these athletes nowadays think that you guys are just going to wave this magic wand over them just because you're Johnny O and you're Jeff Ward and you guys have, multiple championships and you guys have, had a lot of success in the sport? So do these kids think that I work with him for a year or two, he's worked with this guy and he's brought this guy championships, so he's going to be able to do it? And if he doesn't do it in 2 years or a year, he's out, and I'm going to go find someone that's going to do it. So I think that's what you're trying to get at is these guys need to stick it out through the good and the bad, because you're the only one that's going to make it happen is the athlete. You know what I mean? They're the ones that have to do the dirty work and really want it more than anything. And just because you have this mentor, coach, wherever you want it, they only can do so much. And I really think that this whole, credential-wise, there's so many guys out there that claiming they're trainers. They're claiming that they're riding coaches. Where are your credentials? Like, God love him. Love Eldon as a person. Known him super long time. Builds champions. My deal is, okay, Eldon's great. He's been very successful. But show me someone that hasn't won before they went there. And the guys that have went there that haven't won don't make it through his program. So is that the same deal where they didn't give him enough time, or he overworked them, they thought, or the attention wasn't going here? I don't know this, but what I'm trying to get at, there's so much speculation right now going on in the sport with these guys, if they're trainers or riding coaches or entourage people that are just hanging out, that get in these guys' heads, that explain to them, like, maybe your last situation, maybe someone was in this guy's ear telling him, oh, no, this isn't working. You're tired. You're this, you're that. You don't feel right. This is the problem. Get rid of that problem, and this is going to fix itself. That's the way I look at it. And being around the riders and some of these guys during the week and at the races, I can see it. I can see it plain as day. But until the guys figure it out on their own, nothing is going to change for that particular athlete. Do you feel the same way about that, or am I just totally wrong?
No, it's a little sensitive. I'd never like to. I think everyone has, does a job, and yes, I did help Eldon get in the business, but I have super high respect for Eldon. He was a friend of mine, first and foremost, a mountain bike racer himself. Put him in. Ricky was just at a stage where I needed to put someone in place full time. When he's in Florida, he lived with me in California, but I didn't know what he was doing, and when he was home. So Eldon was perfect, and Eldon's built, like you said, many champions. After we allowed Eldon to branch off at the end of Ricky's career and work with a couple guys, and Eldon's built an empire. And everyone looks at him, and he's done a great job. No one can ever say anything negative on that. He hasn't never had to build anyone really from the ground up, really. So more power to him. He'll get the best guys. Let's put it that way. To go from there, there's not a lot of us that just start with maybe an amateur kid at Loretta. At least I haven't. I did a little bit with Covington because I was like, I'll try an amateur kid, and actually that was pretty fun for me, but different because you pull the layer back a little bit, and then you got guys that aren't as talented and skilled and this and that, because I've kind of only worked with super high end professional guys and championship guys. So I think that's another area it's like it's just hard to think like what's the best deal on that. You just don't know. And there is guys in the business that are you don't really know their names like a Wardy or myself, but it works for them. Like for that rider they work for, and if it's just to keep someone accountable daily to do their stuff and their training and their motorcycle riding, so be it. That's fine. There's different levels. Let's put it that way. Obviously, there's a financial part because every layer or level is going to cost you a little bit more money. Everyone's got a price tag of what they have to offer. So that's about all I can say on that one. So if Jeff has something to, thread in on that, he can.
No, like you said, there's different levels to riders, and like with Alden, it's accountability. When you're with them, like you said, John, if you're not going to go with the program, then you're not with the program. It's so he's making guys, and the guys that are at that level or that level anyway, they're going to ride it out. Like you said, it'd be a new guy coming in that would have shell shock and freak out, and the parents would get involved. There's so many different things of why somebody doesn't make it somewhere. And then all riders are different, that different mentality but like Johnny and I, we bring a lot to the table because we've been there and done it. And there's so much more that goes on besides riding a motorcycle to get to that race and be at that athletic, mentality of wanting to win, whether it's traveling or what happened during the week. You got girlfriends, you got car needs to be fixed. You got all these things that you're trying to steer and make it as smooth and still be, as productive, and then still bring confidence. And it's layer by layer to get there. You can't take that big jump and make these guys do these long motos when they're not used to it, and it just kills them. You got to do little baby steps, and that builds confidence. And confidence is the main thing in any sport. You can make up a lot for maybe a lack of something, but if you're a champion, you've been there before and done that, the confidence pulls you through. And we just work on that a lot. But the training stuff, it's tough. It's everybody's different. It's everybody's every day it's got something going on in their life, and it's a tough sport to go the whole season, day in and day out, and be at that level with injuries and just riding every day and track prep and just a lot of stuff that these guys sometimes let bother them more than they should. And we're there to tell them, don't worry about it. Let's just move on, or just keep that motivation and that stuff going forward. And that's what I had, with Spencer and stuff like that. They just motivate, and you forget about that little thing that was bothering you. You're on to the next thing, and you just keep building. That's just kind of the way it works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, guys, I just want to close it with this. We'll close it. Last thing I want to talk to both of you guys about is, everyone, when we're in this sport is always about, it's the most important thing. I talked about it earlier about, the years go by and how much there is after racing. And, both you guys have definitely given up a lot of your lives and, family time and a lot of other things that come along with it for your careers. And I think a lot of people, parents that are bringing their kids into this sport spend a lot of money and a lot of their time and put a lot on the line for their children. And what I've been trying to do with this podcast is get across to everybody that, first of all, it's a passion of dirt bike riding and motorcycle riding is why we first got into it. No matter at what level, if you go to the desert with your family on the weekends, and then you go with your buddies on the weekends, and then it turns into racing, whatever it is, at the end of the day, there has to be a time where you say, hey, you know what? Those guys are better than me. I take my hat off to them. When is that time? Everyone has to find that in their own time. So what I'm trying to get at to these parents is, you know what? Give your kid an opportunity if that's what you want. But there has to be a time where you say, hey, you know what? Those guys are just better, and move on, because before you know it, like we all know, you're 30 years old and you've raced your whole life. You're not going to make it in racing. You have nothing. You homeschooled, you don't have a trade, and all of a sudden you're screwed. So what is your guys' thoughts on the whole outlook on, that part of it? Like, when you could just say, hey, you know what would you tell someone, like when it's like, you have to know when it's time. Like, do you tell your kid, if you're like Jeff, your daughter's playing soccer, and there's going to be at a point in the time where she's going to say, man, I have the talent to move on to the next level, or you know what, I don't. So saying that, these parents, you know, put their houses up, take seconds and thirds out on their house. They work 3 jobs, you know, to pay for the best of the best. And I think that a lot of people don't really get it, that at the end of the day, everyone started because it was fun and dirt bike racing was cool. You could always say, hey, you know what? I didn't make it at professional level, but I still like going to Paris on Saturday nights, you know, every other weekend and racing with my buddies. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It just means that, you know what? At the highest level, you could take your hat off to those guys that you're watching on TV, because there's one thing that I personally live with, and J.O. knows this. Like, I played baseball growing up when I was a kid, and I live with regret. And it's like, what if I would have? What if I tried? What if I didn't do this and I would have focused on this? And I try to explain to people when, you know, when I see a young kid or, you know, people on my team, younger kids racing, you just don't want to live with that regret of what if I tried? What if I didn't do it that way and I did it this way? It's a shitty way to always wonder. But if you give it everything you have and you don't make it, like when you set those goals for your athletes and you say, hey, you know what? We're not making these goals. We're coming up short. And the athlete can look at themselves in the mirror and said, I gave it everything I had. And you know that they gave it everything they had. It's like, hey, you know what? It's time to tap out. We gave it our best. So you could say in 10 years from now, when you're sitting there watching a supercross race on TV and you're with some buddies that you work with that might have known you raced, and some guy goes, hey, didn't you used to do that? You can sit there and tell that guy, hey, you don't know how hard that is. I gave it everything I had and lived it, and I could not make it. Those guys are gnarly athletes and feel good about it inside instead of lying about it. Yeah. So that's something that I just want to get about is regret and not having to live with regret. And these families don't have to give everything they have for this kid's dream, that 75% of them don't even give a fuck about their parents and what they do. Like, I don't rarely, like, I watched Loretta Lynn's on the thing, and I was watching these kids on the podium and stuff. Half of them don't even thank their parents. They don't even thank their parents. They want to thank the sock guy and, you know, the headphone guy and, you know, the Volcom guy and, like, the cool factor. It's like, it blows me away.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard thing. I mean, I have 4 kids, and I have 2 of them that gone through more. Brandon raced for amateur Honda, raced with Baggett, Tomac. He was top 10 at Loretta's.
I remember he was a
talented rider.
He rode Supermoto too, right?
So it's Supermoto Pro.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon.
But he didn't have that. I'm going to run into that brick wall to beat you you know, and he knew it when he moved up to big bikes, and he wasn't the first guy to jump jumps, and he, you know, so it kind of came to reality to him that, hey, this is not where, you know, and now he's in the Army. He's an intelligence officer, analysis in Afghanistan right now. Loves what he's doing.
Awesome.
You know, he made his decision. I got my son Ayrton. He's a B rider right now. Has the goal to want to be a racer. You know, he's finally graduated high school. He wants to put more time into it, and I'm all for it. I mean, I get him the bikes. You know, he's going to be that guy, like you said. He's not going to want to regret not trying, because he's a good rider. He's just small. I mean, he's really small, so it's hard for him on the 250. But I mean, man, does he give an effort and has fun, and he hangs around great people. You know, at the motocross, great friends. And who knows? You know, I just give him all my knowledge, and he's a sponge, and he's a good rider. But do I think he's going to make it? I don't know. You know, I don't know what his development's going to be in 2-3 years. He's a late bloomer. Like, I was kind of really small till I was like 18. My first year on the nationals, I was 4'11", 95 pounds, and so that was pretty. And then I finally grew like 6 inches, which was great. So you know, as a parent, you just give your kid in any sport. You don't know if he's, you know, like whatever they're good at. My daughter's in soccer. Do I think she'll play pro? I don't know. Maybe she's already got a college scholarship. If she wants it, she'll get it. You know, but she wants to go for education, and so I just think there's you know, I don't remember how I felt racing. Mini bikes were, like you said, it was just fun. Never thought of a career. Never thought of making money. And back then, when we were racing mini bikes, there really wasn't anybody that went from mini bikes to a factory. I mean, it kind of just came on the scene where all of a sudden there's Marty Smith, factory guy. The Europeans came over. You never saw Marty on a mini bike racing. You never heard of him. And then all of a sudden now they're making money. And then you could see that. And then all of a sudden, 16, I got a factory ride, and I'm getting paid to go racing. And then it was like, kind of game on. But I didn't know, I never had ambition like I was going to be making money at this deal. So it was a different era when I brought it, and now it's, motocross has made it big time, and Supercross, there's a lot of money to be made. So I think it's kind of like any sport. Once these parents get, whether it's baseball, golf, they dive in, or gymnastics, they dive in wholeheartedly with their kids and give them 100%. And yeah, there's some that are way better than others. There's only one winner every night, and one champion every year. So there's how many, in other sports, there's thousands of golfers that don't make it. So our sport's just so small. I mean, it's like there's just so many guys, that make the money that what you can go to other sports where it's spread out with a lot of people talented people that can make it. We just have and the reason why is this sport is extremely hard. And you got to start young, and it's just a tough sport to break into but you can see the guys that are going to make it at a young age from the 50s, 65s. You got Deegan's kid, you got, Danger Boy. I mean, these guys, you look at them and it's like, wow, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
And then there's the other guys you just don't know. But then when they get 10, 11, 12, they grow, and the next thing they're a great rider. So I just feel as a parent, I just give them whatever they're passionate about. I'm behind them, and I love motocross, so I'm happy one of them's in there. It's a lot of work, but it kind of makes you, I know what my dad went through, traveling and driving. I've done the Lorettas and Ponca City and the same years, and it's a full on effort, and I can see where you're coming from, because I was lucky because I have a ton of connections with bikes and getting help, and but these people that come from nowhere, they're putting all that, they don't have any, if everything's just paid for, it's hard to compete with all these kids that are winning because they're just getting the best stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was talking to Steve the other day, and I haven't went to a motorcycle dealership and really looked at price tags. Mm-hmm. And I went there, and there was a helmet that was like $500, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm fortunate enough to have a hookup with Fox and go down there and get, 50 or 60% off, from their store, and, take my buddies down there, and get, a full set of gear, boots, helmets, everything for like $500 or $600. And I go to the dealer and I'm like, how are these people doing this? Like a set of a tire is $80, $100 for a tire, one tire.
And that's what blows me away. I go there and I see all this stuff, and they have more than I have.
Yeah.
I have these and I'm like, wow, how do they, what do these parents do? That's what I want to know most of them. But
it's crazy. It's just crazy to me.
I'm fortunate that, I get help in that area, TLD and all that. But these people that have to, that don't have that, it's a tough road to take. But it's just our sport's kind of expensive, to do it. I mean, we're soccer and stuff like that. It's a ball and go practice in the field. Yeah, but now they're college, and then that gets expensive with that costs money too. So there's I know what you're saying with the regret thing, but you just have to. I think at a time where you're at, and my son did, and my other son will either make it or won't. He'll know.
Yeah, I just like to, to get the point across. Like for these people, if you look at an outdoor national, there's 40 dudes on the gate. And literally, there's probably, 3 to 4 on the gate at that one time that can retire from racing, if that.
Well, I think with Johnny and I raced, there was only 2. I think it was Johnny and I in the 125 class.
That's it.
Once we started after, Barnett was done, it was like there's only 2 or 3 guys in our class. Yeah,
but it's just crazy to me. You know what? And there's just all those dudes that still have the dream. It's like, and I'm not saying shatter someone's dream. I've seen numerous amount of guys out there. I've worked for a couple dudes that didn't really have the talent, but had the work ethic and had the money behind them. And you know what? Their parents would do anything to get them. And then I worked for another guy that had so much natural talent, and their parents had no money. And the kid didn't work, and he would freaking do the stupidest things. And his dad retired. He was done working in the oil fields. Then his dad took his retirement pension and put it into this kid's racing. And we're driving to Ponca City one year, and I'm driving, and I smell weed. And I'm like, what the? How does it smell like weed? And I was in a box truck, and it had like a, you know how it had the divider door that, and I lean over and I push the door open, and this dude's smoking pot, blowing it out the air vent. And I'm like, wait a minute, your dad, who worked his whole life, just retired, and is taking his retirement pension and putting it into your racing, and this is what you're doing in return to show your dad that you, like, that's disrespectful to me. You know what I mean? And right there and then I knew that this kid wasn't going to make it. Like, he just didn't give a shit. But you have these other kids that want it. And it's like, how do you tell that kid, hey, it's not going to happen for you? And how do you explain this to, like, hey.
I don't know. Without all those guys, though, we wouldn't have a full field. We'd only have 10 guys show up.
Yeah.
So in any sport, there's how many guys aren't going to make it?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. But there's always people coming behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not, I mean, you got guys like, we'll use Barry Carson, for instance. That dude still racing, loves the sport, raced at a competitive level, Supercross and Outdoor Nationals, into his early 40s. Okay? But still worked 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Wasn't like, hey, I'm going to be a Supercross, motocross racer. So that's all I'm trying to get at. I'm not trying to be a downer.
No, I know.
You know, it's just that I want to kind of educate people on how hard it is for what you guys have done, what you guys bring to the table with your education on training riders and putting people in the right position and knowing, hey, does this guy have it? Just like John said earlier, hey, I'm either in or I'm out. You know, that's the way these people and people that are racing need to take their career. They're either all in or they're all out, because doing it at 50% ain't going to get you 50% of the result. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've seen happen, you know, with Ricky, for instance. All in, 100% effort, pay. Guys that don't, I mean, there's so many guys that just don't have it. So, but
yeah, like that's a really delicate thing. I just want to put in like probably just my little 2 cents on it. I think I could spend a month, maybe even less time with any guy that thinks they're going to be a pro, and I could probably tell you yes or no if they're going to make it or not. Because in all the people I've ever known, it doesn't need to be a motocross champion. It could be a cycling champion. I know other champions in other sports. They're so similar. I'll tell you hopefully this comes across, and if anyone's listening, whether if it's a kid coming up, I came from nothing. And most of the people that made it are similar to me. So I think money and everything's good. It's all the root of all evil also. So, but my whole career, even when I was a kid and when I knew that my dad was a plumber, you know, I could have went that route, but I was just like, I want to be a motorcycle racer. And I every day, I still kind of even live like that this today, and it's that fear of failure. So I had that instilled in me from a very young age, because I knew that I had to make something of myself. And, you know, I had all these role models in front of me in the motocross world, obviously, and I just would not take no for an answer. You know, like I had all my teenager kids, friends smoking pot, all doing all the bad things, but then there's, like you said, John or Johnny O over here that wanted to be the best. And I literally, it's the hardest thing in the world to get that across to anybody, but it's also the most rewarding and the funnest time of my life. So after racing is the real challenge too, making it that, because we sacrifice so much. We're kind of scarred from what we do, and we don't really fit in the real world too well. I think a lot of athletes, doesn't matter if it's motocross, are like that, whether if you made X amount of millions of dollars or whatever. So I feel for the guy on the start line in a main event, which is an unreal accomplishment, because we do need them on the line also. But then, like, it is true, there's only a few that can really win and go on to be a champion, like Jeff and myself. But we're just trying to get across how gnarly it is, and that is why I am who I am today. I would never change anything, even if my work ethic is what made me who I am today, made me, you know, kind of successful in life. Even after racing, I still work on it very hard, whether if it's with my family, Sure, maybe not educated with a college degree and all that, but being a top athlete and an athlete at my caliber did help me in life, but it's also makes challenges after, because we don't really know a whole lot, but we do know how to work hard, and that's probably how I'd leave it. But just know that this is a very tough business. You got to be your skin's got to be so thick, and bounce things. You have to have things that bounce right off you, and if you're not strong-minded and get that confidence from the get-go, and Jeff can totally probably endorse me on this. If you come in the business, like just use Fortner as an example, the kid come in and puts his stamp right in the sport, you're good to go. But if you just don't come in like that and make an impression, it's very difficult to get in there and make that breakthrough. Jeff did it. I did it. We can go down the line on the guys that really make that imprint in the sport, and you're established, and then it's all up to you. You got all the backing, and then you can go win races and win championships.
Yeah, it's pretty. I always kind of live by this motto: you only get the first impression one time, and if you fail at that and you don't do it, I don't care what it is in life. I don't care what it is. So I agree with you, Johnny. 100%.
Well, if you want it bad enough, you'll get there. I mean, or you'll get the best you can be.
Yeah.
If you want bad,
Yeah.
It took me 6 years to win a championship. It wasn't like it happened overnight. I came in, I was good. I had good motos, but I started in 1978. I didn't win until 84. Won my first Supercross race in 84. So I was there. I could have easily been, if I didn't have the mindset of wanting to make it.
Yeah. Well,
I could have been washed out the door. It could have broke me.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It doesn't matter. Injuries, whatever. It was not going to stop me.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to get across to the viewers and people that are trying to learn about the sport. And I think that's where me and Jeff have a lot to offer, because we've been in the trenches, and people don't really know what's in front of them if they don't line themselves up. I've always lined myself up with people that are better than me, and that's just. And it's a very tight group also, and Jeff would probably say the same thing. We just don't have people hang on people around us, people that are going to make me better each day I'm on this earth.
Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I want to know.
Yeah. I think that's something you instilled in Ricky pretty good.
Absolutely.
100%. He's always – it was weird when I first became friends with Ricky and I started to hang out with him. I think he – was kind of judging me by the book, and he didn't know me as a person until I started to open up as a person and a friend, and just doing what friends do for each other. And then we became friends, and he opened up a little bit more, and he had a pretty tight knit circle to get in there. And I didn't really realize guys at your guys' level, when you guys are at your the top of your your sport at the time, how many hanger-oners could have the want to get in there to be part of it, to that's what I think a lot of the kids nowadays have. That problem is they have all these people telling them yes. There's too many yes people. Yes. Oh, you got third, you rode great. No, I didn't ride great. I got third. I sucked. You know what I mean? Not always telling them yeah. That's what I call them, the yeah guys. There's too many yeah guys in this sport. And, that's what I think you guys have always brought to the table, just like you said, that tight-knit circle. Yeah. And people around you is what makes it. You are who you surround yourself with. And I'm a true believer of that. If you're going to surround yourself with losers and you're successful, you're going to end up being a loser. I don't care what it is at, life. If you're not a winner and you surround yourself with winners in business, in life, you're going to succeed, because you're not going to fail because everyone around you is not failing. Yeah. But we'll close with that. I just want to say, Jeff, Johnny, I really appreciate you guys giving the time. Sorry, it took so long to get this done, and but I want everybody to know these two guys drove down here together, so that tells you that there's no rival. These guys.
We drove separate cars. We're not that close. No.
Yeah, but
we went mountain biking this morning with Rhino and his son in Temecula.
Wow.
So we already did our ride. See, we don't mess around.
No, it was a brutal ride.
We planned the day around training, and we still don't. We're still that far out of our career. Well, he still has a career.
These guys, man. Oh well. But hey, guys, thank you again, Johnny, Jeff, coming in. Once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to the show. Hope everybody enjoyed it. like my good friend Joe Dirt says, keep on keeping on. All right, this part of the show, one's going to be a pretty special one for me. I have an old friend, and for this segment, Where Are They Now?, I wanted to bring him back. If you haven't heard his name is Jason McCormick. He has been around the industry pretty much his whole life in one way or another, working in the industry, riding, surfing, doing all kinds of stuff. First and foremost, welcome, Jay. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks, Kenny. I enjoy the show. I've heard the first couple episodes and instantly became a fan, honestly.
Perfect. You know what's crazy is Jason and I were colleagues. We worked together at a company called Utopia Optics for probably 3 years. And I think I caught up more with Jason today over lunch and just chatting. And then I've done when I used to walk into his office and we would yell at each other, and got more out of the conversation about what a solid dude you are. And just wanted to really thank you and catch up with you and see what's going on.
I think that we had a lot of passion at Utopia, and we had a good product, and there were some good people there. We were making the company succeed, and I think that we just had on our minds just to be the most successful goggle company at that time, and we were working really hard.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we were a little too overqualified for the brand, if that makes sense. I think with the people that we had there at the time, we had so much passion. I think our passion spent their money too quick.
Yeah, the company moved in a direction that I loved. It was becoming a force in the industry, and I think it could have been something that was something that could have lasted a very long time. And all the people that we were working with were really core people. And it's just sad that one little thing happened where, it kind of went away.
Yeah, but hey, it happens. We've seen it happen with multiple brands, but we're here today, and we're both doing good. And let's catch up with you a little bit. Let's do this. Let's talk about you as a person. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you start? How'd you get involved in the industry? Because just like myself, I really didn't know your background that well, and you have a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, I grew up in Carlsbad. I was born down there in Southern California. My mom helped start a company called Ocean Pacific back in the 70s.
Better known as OP for all you surfers.
And that company was extremely successful. She was the only female executive that worked there. And in Carlsbad back then, there was a lot of land, and there was a lot of good motocross riders that came from that area. And my father raced. My uncle was a good local pro. My mom and her two sisters raced three-wheelers. And it was just something that once I rode, like a million other people, it just became passion. It's all I could think about all day and night, So I grew up racing, a lot of CMC, won a couple Transcals, won a truck one year, raced Lorettas, had some luck in Lorettas, won some motos. And when I turned 30, after I graduated college, I was racing mountain bikes. I decided I needed my first job, and was lucky enough to be involved with some guys, Mark and Brian Simo and Jeff Theodosakis. And they gave me my first job at a company called Spy Optic. It had just started, and Jeremy McGrath was the main guy.
Let me ask you a question. At Spy, this has always been a big question, just not in my eyes, I think, in the industry. When Spy first started, I think there was a big, I don't know what to call it, but a big hoopla or a big conspiracy more than that the company was started with their athletes. So Jeremy McGrath owned a part of it. Rick Johnson owned a part of it. Who else car drivers were into it?
Yeah,
maybe
Richard Petty.
Like all these guys owned a piece of Spy. Is that true?
Well, I don't know every single particular, but I do know it was started by a couple guys and with no money pretty much. And we were buying Scott goggles and taking a razor blade and scratching the Scott off the front of the goggles and putting a Spy sticker on it, putting a Spy strap on it, and that's the goggles that we were running. And as time went on,
How did Bevo take that back in the day?
well, it was a really good relationship in the beginning because Spy bought the goggles from Scott.
Okay.
And then
So they knew what you guys were doing?
yes,
Wow.
because all the goggles that Spy was selling were produced by Scott.
Gotcha.
So Spy was pretty much a customer of Scott. And I don't know the details, but I believe that there were some promises made that weren't upheld, and then Spy started producing their own goggles. Once Spy started producing their own goggles, then there was the beef with Scott. And it was, I worked there, I think, almost 10 years as the motocross team manager, and it wasn't a very good relationship at the races for me
I bet.
because of that. But, you know, it was fun, and we had some great athletes, Jeremy McGrath, Travis Pastrana, Kevin Windham, Steve Lamson. We had the pro circuit team with Ramsey and Way and Billy Payne.
Who?
And Shea Bentley. Which one?
Billy Payne?
Love Billy Payne.
Gotta love him.
Good kid.
Billy Payne with the chain.
So it was fun. I mean, it was motocross is, you know, as anybody that grew up with it, was in my blood, and I was getting paid to go to the events. I was getting paid to go stand on the starting line with these guys. You know, I was getting paid to hang out with them. I mean, it was a dream come true, really. And I thank Bieber, Jeff Theodosakis, for giving me that opportunity. And it's something that who I am today and who I am as a father or a husband. There's a lot of guys in my life from Spy that just kind of showed me how to do business, how to do marketing, and how to be a good person. And I'm really thankful that I got that opportunity. I was extremely lucky.
Yeah, I mean, from a person that was around back then and saw, you know, really wasn't paying attention to the brand, you know, just seeing you there and knowing you as a person and always seeing how you treated people. I think that is very important inside, you know, in the industry, but in life in general. I think that has a lot to do with it. And I've always known that you've always been treated with respect within the industry. And I think that is super hard to gain that trust and that respect from the industry because there's so many backstabbers. There's so many of these, hey, I'm your bro, but then that same bro guy won't return a call. And then they see you and they're like, bro. But knowing the way you were and you still are, if they said, hey, Jason, can you sponsor me? You're going to say, hey, I'll get back to you. The way the industry works now, you don't get the call. You know you didn't get the deal. But back then, I've known that you are the guy that pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, we're not going to be able to do nothing. And that is the reason why I think that respect thing comes into play.
And it still drives me crazy. I mean, my brother owns a drink company, and what we know is you want an answer. No, I mean, no matter what job you do, you just want an honest answer. If somebody can't do something, just say, hey, I can't do it. Exactly. And when we started working at Spy, there was no money. There was no money for marketing. There was no money for advertising. So we got together and we just treated the people how we wanted to be treated. They became a part of a family. You know, on the amateur team back then was Ryan Bellapoto and Josh Grant and Dungy for a little while, and Josh Lichtel.
R.I.P.
Yeah, love that kid, man. That kid
awesome family.
But that's exactly what it was, and we're talking, you know, 20 years later maybe, and they're still like a family to me. You know, I still talk to them. I still think about people. I still talk to the parents. You know, Ben LeMay, and you know, like I said, I'm just fortunate that I got to be involved and to be on the side where a lot of people don't get to see, that are sitting in the stands. And, you know, I'm lucky. I'm blessed.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we talk and, you know, we've been in the game for quite a while. And, you know, we were talking, you know, earlier about, you know, how a lot of people take what we do for granted, and how, when you're in the trenches and you're in the pits, time flies. Like it's like you're not thinking 5 years down the road. You're thinking about your next race or the next season, and then as soon as the outdoor nationals are coming to an end, you're thinking about building your team, ordering stuff for the next season, doing that. I cannot believe, looking back at it now, how freaking fast those seasons and years and now decades go by.
Yeah, I mean, you're flying to the race. You're getting a rent a car. You're trying to find out where your hotel is, and it was a lot tougher then because, like you've said on different episodes, there wasn't GPS back then. Or I'm finding directions on my computer, printing them out, and taking them with me, and trying to figure out where we're going to in the middle of nowhere. And then those are long days. Those are 16, 18-hour days that you're doing at the events, and then flying home early, and then getting ready for the next event. And I was doing pro stuff, and I was doing amateur stuff. There was not a day off. I honestly would work 7 days a week for, years and years, and take a couple-week vacation, here and there. But it's a tough job. I mean, it really is a tough job.
It is. And a lot of people that always say, how do I get into the industry? That you guys live the dream life. Like, you know what? People don't understand. Yeah, if you're into motocross, and it is a bitchin' job. But you know what? It's not a 9-to-5 job.
No.
It's not. Your phone rings all hours of the night. There's always a situation it has to be taken care of. It's always the end of the world. And you know what? I figured out a while ago, and I used to think, man, if I don't make it to that race, man, well, you know what? The gate's going to drop with me there or without me there. They're still going to race. They're still going to do it. And something that I've taken for granted for, and I've said it before, and maybe you could talk on behalf of this, is the opportunities that I've left behind at home with missing weddings, missing family functions, having a child later in my life because I was too busy to find the right person to have a child with, and relationships were obsolete because I couldn't give time for a relationship because I was never home. And just all these things pile up, and you look back at it now, or I look back at it, and I don't think I would change anything because I'm pretty happy with the way my life turned out and the blessings that I have learned, and the people that I have in my life now are all there for a reason. But there's one thing that you do learn. You learn how to grow up really fast because, like you said, you're traveling, you're getting rental cars, you're getting to where you got to go in the middle of nowhere off a piece of paper in the middle of the night, driving down 2-lane highways in the middle of New York, trying to find a racetrack when you're going to the races, and you have the guy's goggles and it's dark out and practice is starting in 45 minutes and you have no idea where you're at. And there's stress involved. There's a lot of things. But what I'm trying to get at is the loyalty that we all give to this industry and this job. The riders, the risk for reward that they take, I think it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
These guys do this. Like we were talking about earlier about guys wanting to come out of retirement, and if it's why is it even you can tell them, hey, you're going to make no money. You know what? And they're still thinking like, hey, you know what? I don't care. I want to go race my dirt bike, and I take that chance that I could end up in a wheelchair or I could end up dead. But you know what? I want to go do this because I still think I can win. It's just never ending. And I just am just grateful that I've met people like you in this industry, and to see people that have come out positive on the other side and learn from it.
Well, one thing you didn't touch on is a lot of people grow up quickly that are not riders is because there's a lot of responsibility. You as a mechanic, I mean, these guys put in a lot of time, and some of the guys that we had, they make a lot of money in contingencies for winning an event or winning a championship. And say, like when Kevin Windham came over, he came up to me and said, listen, I have never had to take off a pair of goggles in a race the whole time I wore Scotts. I don't want to take off a pair of goggles when I wear Spies. And
So he's talking about mid-moto throwing a pair.
yes,
Okay.
he never wants to take them off. And Spy was a company that, like I said, didn't have much money, so they didn't have
Development
a lot of,
testing,
yes,
yeah.
they just did, but they developed a goggle more that looked good, but didn't have so much the performance. So for me, it was pretty heavy, you know, with Vaseline and with maxi pads, you know, so on. And then all of a sudden you're in an event and you don't know if it's going to rain. You're sitting on the starting line and you've given all their guys their goggles, but yet you got to have all the goggles in case it starts sprinkling, because all of a sudden they want to change to roll-offs or something. And everybody has to have a different goggle. Nathan Ramsey could only wear orange lenses. Bobby Canary could only wear black frames. I mean, it's crazy the amount of work. It's not just simply putting a couple Taros on, giving it to the guy and say, hey, good luck, you know. When you're watching, you know, say Southwick, and it starts raining in the middle of the moto, and you know it's so humid out there, and you just don't want any guy to throw his goggles, you know. I've had guys toss goggles. Shea Bentley once threw a pair at Daytona because he said he couldn't see. He got third, I think, in the event, but he said he couldn't see. I went out and found the goggles, and they worked perfect. They were roll-offs. But there was, I guess he was getting claustrophobic, he told me later, because he could only see out that little strip. But, I mean, I got to go find what's going on with the goggles when they say there is to make sure that they're correct, because it's my ass on the line, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you know how it is with the mechanic, too.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing those guys complain about is, hey, something wasn't right on the bike,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I was pretty fortunate that, you know, I did that job that you did for Spy for Utopia.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to get a lot of feedback from you on how to do that job, because a lot of people don't give the goggle guys credit, man. That's a tough job. That's a tough job, because, like you said, it's an easy excuse. It's an easy excuse for those riders. And I think to get rid of the eliminate the problems is probably the best scenario to do with any rider. If you could take that out of the equation, if it's fogging or, you know, dirt getting in your goggles or whatever the case is, it's huge. It's huge. And, you know, that's only one small part of the pie is goggles. And then you got, you know, gear guys, and then you got, you know, engine guys now. I mean, it's so different than when we were. I mean, you had a mechanic and a gear guy and a goggle guy. That's it. You know, now that you got an engine guy, you got, you know, a chassis guy, you got an ECU guy, you got your entourage, you got your, you know, all that goes with it. It's just so different now. And it's just different. It's just totally different. And what I'm trying to get at is, you know, for what we have done, and especially, you know, a guy like you that's pretty much grown up in the sport, what do you see when you go to a race now that just blows your mind, man, and go, man, this has changed so much?
Honestly, it's I don't want to be negative, but it's the lack of talent. I remember when I was a kid and we would go to a lot of events, you honestly had no clue who was going to win. You could ask 10 different people who was going to win, and you get 10 different answers. These days, I mean, if you go to an outdoor national, you know, this weekend, 99% of the people are going to say one guy, you know, in the 450 class. And I still enjoy it. It's just evolved into, seems like there's a lot of parts that go on in this machine now, when before it seemed so simplified. And I don't know if that's better or I don't know if it's worse, but I mean, I still love it. I still have to watch it. I still have to know what's going on. I still want to know who's riding for what team next year. You know, I still look at the boots. I still look at the gloves. You know, I got 5 kids, 2 that ride, not as much as they would like to, but they ride a lot, and they look up to these guys like I did. and want the exact same thing that I wanted as a kid. You know, I'd watch Bob Hanna. I had to have the lightning bolts on my helmet, you know, just because the guy did.
Well, you know, we had Bob as a guest.
Yeah.
You said you were listening to it, and
Yes.
I asked him the same exact question I just asked you about what is the difference between when you go to the track now, this is when you went. And he said, I think the guys in the 90s had love affairs with each other. He goes, I didn't like anyone I raced with.
Yeah, but whose fault is that? I mean, when you go to the races now and you see,
They all
rider,
train. They all train together. They all have multiple. Like they all have.
But they have an entourage now. Back then, they didn't have an entourage.
No.
They parked their box trucks next to each other, and they just had their mechanic.
Yeah.
Maybe some family members.
Yeah.
Now you go to an event, and especially at Supercross, the Rockstar guys. I mean, not the company Rockstar, but they're just like, everybody treats these guys, you know, like they're gods. I mean, it's crazy, and I can't blame a lot of the riders for thinking like they do, because this is what they get told
from a young age.
When you go to Loretta's, you know, the guys that are the guys, they know they're the guys.
Yep.
Because they get treated like that. So I don't really say it's their fault.
Yep.
But I mean, it's tough not to have that mentality when you get to, you know, Supercross or motocross.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, speaking of Loretta's, it just finished up last week, and you know, I'm not going to say any names in particular, but there's a kid out there that's, you know, 11 years old, and he is treated like a rock star, and he has the full-on, you know, red carpet rolled out from him, and he has the big title sponsor, the outside the industry sponsors, and he's 11 years old, and he's getting paid big money already. I mean, he's 11, and he's been doing that since he's been 6, 7. What's that kid going to be like by the time he's 16 or 17? Like, is he going to be burned out? I mean, then you got a guy like MC that never even started racing motorcycles until he was 14.
Yeah.
You know, it's like something you just scratch your head and you go, if you look at it and go, hey, you got a certain window that you're going to do your damage in. And it's a 10-year window. I don't care who you are. Some guys it's 5, some guys it's 3, some guys it's 1 year. They have a great year, then it's injuries, and they never get that opportunity. But it's proven in the past. You guys got, like, you know, you got Ricky, you got Jeremy, you got Villapoto. Those 3 guys right there, you can count it. They had 10 solid years of racing. Dungey's coming up. Next year will be his 10th. So those dudes, you look back at those 3 guys, Villapoto was one of those kids that he was an amateur. I'm not saying he was a star amateur guy, and I'm not saying Dungey was a star amateur guy, but they raced, they trained, they put everything they had into it for all these years. So when they're at 26, 27 years old, no matter how much money you're making and what you're doing, you're like, your body has to be at a point where it's like, man, it's trained, you're at a point where it's like, it's time to move on.
You know, I was talking with somebody the other day. It's kind of weird that when you talk about those 3 guys, like Dungey wasn't the kid as an amateur, you know. McGrath he was good as an amateur, but because of the late start, I don't think his head is where a lot of these kids' heads are.
Yep.
Villapoto, he won 1 race. I think he won 1 race one time at Ponca against Alessi, you know, when they were kids. But there's so many kids that have been the kid that have not developed into anything. I mean, I see it year after year after year, and
2 Chain Billy Payne.
I mean, I don't want to start naming names, but I mean,
there's a list of them.
I mean,
speaking of that, we're going to have a guest later on is Ben Riddle.
That kid was so amazing, and he was so fun to watch as an amateur, you know, and he was such a good kid. And yeah, I mean, they're all good kids. It's just tough to see those kids that are labeled the kid not make it in life. You know, I mean, that's
more important than anything. You just said it in life, because we all know, like I said, that window of racing and what we do, it's such a small part of it, you know, and I'd like to close on just what you're doing now and how life is today.
Well, you know, I enjoyed working at No Fear. I enjoyed working at Spy. I enjoyed working at Utopia with you and Monster Energy. And I have 5 kids myself. And it kind of dawned on me when I left Monster in 2010 that, you know, I didn't get to spend as much time with them as I would like to. I didn't even get to do the things in life that I wanted to. I had a great time in high school, and I have a lot of good friends, and I never got to go to any of my reunions because there was always events going on. So I've been fortunate enough where my wife is the breadwinner in the family, and I've been able to hang out with our youngest son, who is now 8. And the joy you get from your family, not your moto family, but your personal family, it's unbelievable, you know. And I've been fortunate enough to have the last 6 years with them, and being able to you know, drive them to the beach, being able to drive them to other soccer games and baseball games and go-kart races, and take them snowboarding, and life is really good, you know. I'm kind of getting the itch to get back in the industry again, and I have missed not going to the events, and I still talk to a lot of people, like I said, from a long time ago, a lot of athletes. It's weird. It's like all of a sudden these kids that were just racing Loretta's, you know, seems to me like a couple years ago, they're like Villapoto, they're retired. You know, it's like a blink of an eye, because life goes so quick that things change, you know. So I look back at the last 6 years and I'm thankful that I still have all the friends in the industry like you, and am able to still ride, and got to spend the time with the family. You know, I'm lucky.
That's awesome, Jay. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming down. It's always good catching up with you, and I think everybody will really enjoy this. I personally enjoyed it, and I'd like to say thanks again, and hope to see you back out there, man.
Yeah,
thanks for coming by, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, and good luck with the show. I mean, honestly, it's I enjoy it, and it seems like I've had thoughts in the past about something like this being needed, kind of a behind-the-scenes type of deal, and I wish you all the success.
No problem. Anytime. You can come back anytime.
We're doing tomorrow.
All right. See you here.
See ya.
All right, bye. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the people that make this happen for us. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Team Elite, Cocopa Casino and Resort, Ron's In Your Ear Audio, X Brand, Words Connection, Hart and Huntington Tattoo, Guts Racing, and last but not least, you, the people. Thank you very much for listening. Keep on keeping on. Talk to you soon.
Cause I'm a bro. I just talked about the river. Cause I'm a bro. And crush these demons of dirt. Cause I'm a bro. I got posters of Vin Diesel. Cause he's my favorite bro. And I punch my friends in the arm because we're bros. Well, I lifted my truck up to the sky cause I'm a bro. Cause I'm a bro. I give millions to the industry, even though it's run by the Japanese. Cause I'm a bro. Flame tattoos, revving my dirt bike. I talk shit all the time if your truck is smaller than mine. Cause I'm a bro. cause I'm a bro, bro, bro. I bleached my hair, I spiked it, cause I'm a bro.